Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first climate conversation with New England Aquarium. My name is Lindsay, and today I'm going to be talking to Dr. Richelle Tanner. Dr. Tanner is a postdoctoral fellow at the University of California, Davis, and is a climate ecophysiologist and science communicator. So welcome, Richelle.
Thanks, Lindsay. It's great to be here. As you said, I work on the effects of climate change, mainly on our communities, both in the ecosystems and human communities. And I do this from a lot of perspectives out in the field and in the lab and with social surveys. And when that last aim, that's really how I know you, if we want to provide that to our audience. I work with the National Network for Ocean and Climate Change Interpretation, where we do social science research on how we communicate about climate change. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited. So one of the reasons I wanted to speak with you today is that recently there has been a lot of news about some deep freeze events that have been happening in Texas. So when thinking about climate change and what it means for our planet, sometimes we think about extreme or unusual weather events like that deep freeze that they experienced in February, which caused a lot of widespread power outages and problems for not only Texans, but Texas wildlife. So can you help our audience understand how a deep freeze like that happens and how it is, or can it be connected to climate change?
Yeah, so that one in particular is related to how sometimes Arctic climate can move further down into lower latitudes. And so basically we're experiencing down here what they would experience up in the Arctic for a few days. So events like that can be driven by unpredictability in our climate. And when I think about climate change, I'm thinking about how it's impacting the regular seasonal changes that we see on a year-to-year basis in our climate. And so a good way to think about this is with regular inputs of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere, like with photosynthesis and respiration. Those drive seasonal changes that we see, especially for people who are living in areas like Boston, where you see summers that are warmer and winters that are colder. These are normal processes, but with rampant inputs of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere that are driven by human-induced burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas, these can drive not only warming overall, but they can drive an increase in the unpredictability of our climate. And so this is really some of what I study as a biologist. And that's kind of what we're seeing here with not only the Texas freeze event, but a lot of the increased wildfires that we've seen, heat extremes that we've seen. All of these are not necessarily driven explicitly by climate change, but they can be linked. And that's what scientists are trying to figure out right now.
Interesting. So this deep freeze event does not mean that Texas will be cold in the future, but that there may be more frequency of these types of events happening?
I think it's just that with climate change, the unpredictability is the most difficult part of this. So whereas we might have seen an event like this every couple generations in the past, we might see them more frequently for a small period of time and then not at all for a while. It's that we just don't know how, when and how they will come, right? And so this can be difficult for not only humans in the way that we plan our communities, but also ecosystems, because as you can imagine, the animals and plants that live in areas like Texas, when they experience a cold extreme like this, they haven't seen one in a really long time, right? And so that can lead to events like all of those turtles that were being cold shocked. I'm sure you saw that on the news. But that's not only happening to the turtles, it's happening to all of the fishes and the invertebrates. And so we can see effects of this long lasting into the next few years. And so I think it's most important to know that the unpredictability is the nuance that we should be focusing on with climate change.
So that is definitely a challenge for communities like Texas to try to be able to plan for
Right,
any events if you can't predict them happening. So
right.
obviously this is going to be a big challenge for Texas, for the wildlife, but also for our planet. So we can't plan for these things, what are some things that we can do and our audience can do to help protect our planet and to try to slow these impacts of climate change?
I think it all comes back to this idea of resilience. And so we need to make sure that we're ready for lots of different things in our future. And some of the ways we can do this is advocate for more renewable energy in our communities, and not only just in our communities, but the communities that traditionally don't have a voice in our representation. Another thing that I like to make sure my audiences know is available is community science. And so iNaturalist is a really, really great platform for helping you go out and look for things in your local habitats. And this really grounds you and I and our neighbors and friends to why it's important to keep fighting for climate mitigation in our future and climate adaptation, because we kind of can see the effects of climate change on these platforms of community science and really understand how we are directly impacting our ecosystems.
That is great, Richelle. Thank you so much. That really, I think, helped explain what's been going on in Texas and hopefully how our audience can get involved and try to keep our planet healthier for future generations. So thank you again to Dr. Tanner for joining us. And stay tuned for more climate conversations going forward. And Richelle, I'll be talking to you soon.
Great. Thanks, Lindsay.